You know, that is how you start a ghost story. A name, a place that's so feared it gives goosebumps to the people who are literally paid to be fearless. So what is the story behind this name? Let's get into it.
That chilling line comes from the story of Hospital Room 27. And in this breakdown, we're going to dig into how this story so perfectly taps into our deepest fears. You know, the ones about what's lurking in those quiet, forgotten corners of places we think are supposed to be safe.
All right, so every great horror story needs a legendary setting, right? A place with a dark and usually pretty bloody history. And believe me, this one is an absolute classic. The story just drops you right in. It's the witching hour, 3 in the morning. The whole hospital is dead quiet, which forces all of your attention onto this one specific spot, the old, abandoned Ward C. You've got isolation and darkness, the perfect recipe for fear.
And here, we get to the heart of the legend. 20 years back, something violent and completely unexplained just wiped out everyone in this room. But what's really crucial here is the threat. It's described as an invisible force. So this isn't just about a past tragedy. The haunting is active. The light turning on by itself, that makes the danger feel very, very present. So into this terrifying place. Let's meet our characters. The story gives us 4 perfect horror movie types. You've got Roshni, the logical one, the skeptic. There's Priya, the one who totally believes the ghost stories. Simran is the new girl, kind of looking for a thrill. And then there's Deepa, who is already terrified. It's a brilliant setup because you've got instant conflict and tension right there. Okay, so let's move on to the event that kicks this whole thing into gear. This is the moment the legend stops being just some scary story and becomes a terrifying reality for our 4 nurses. And boom, suddenly the legend comes to life. A light flickers on in the one place it absolutely positively should not be. The story asks a simple question, but it forces the characters, and us, to seriously consider the possibility that all those spooky stories are true. This slide just perfectly lays out this central conflict. On one side, you have Roshni and her logic, trying to find any rational explanation. But on the other, you have Priya's fear, which immediately jumps to the supernatural. And this debate, this tension, is what pushes them to make a decision. And here it is, the fateful decision. Roshni, our skeptic, just refuses to give in to the fear. In classic horror fashion, it's this pride, this need to prove that it's all nonsense, that basically unlocks the door to disaster. Her skepticism is what leads them all straight into the trap. So, the decision's been made, Roshni's going to check it out. And now we follow them as they approach the light, and with every single step, they're walking deeper and deeper into the darkness.
And there's the first barrier, breached. The story does such a great job with sounds. That classic, super ominous creak of a rusty gate. You just know nothing good is on the other side of that sound.
And now, it's not just what they hear, it's what they smell. This isn't just an empty ward, it's a place that's actively rotting. The air itself is described as thick and foul, which makes the whole place feel hostile and suffocating before anything has even happened.
Then comes another sound, but it's not a jump scare. It's something way creepier, a slow, dragging sound. It tells you something is moving up ahead, something is patient, and it's waiting for them. Man, you can just feel the tension building.
And there it is, confirmation. It wasn't a trick of the eyes, it wasn't an emergency bulb. The light is coming from the one place the legend said it would, Room 27. They have officially arrived at the monster's lair.
Remember that smell of decay? Well, it just got 1,000 times worse. This isn't just dust and old medicine anymore. This is something actively, horribly wrong. The story describes the smell as the entity's signature, a smell of death that's so strong it's almost a physical thing.
So they've ignored all the warnings. They pushed past the gate, they walked down that creepy hall, and now it's time for the payoff. We've reached the climax of the story.
And bam! The trap is sprung. The slamming door is one of the oldest tricks in the horror book, but it is so effective. There is no way out now. The investigation is officially over, and survival is the only thing that matters.
What's so chilling here is just how brutally efficient this thing is. It takes them out one by one, and each death is uniquely terrifying. Deepa is suffocated. Simran is smashed against the walls by some invisible force. Priya is literally frozen to death. And finally, Roshni, our poor skeptic, is eaten away from the inside out.
So what is this thing? It's not your typical ghost. It's defined as a tangible, living thing. a foul-smelling darkness. It doesn't just spook you, it gets inside you, it invades you, and it destroys you from within. That is a terrifyingly personal and biological way to die.
And this single, stark number says it all, doesn't it? There's no final girl. No one escapes. The entity is absolute, and the story is just completely merciless.
The horror is over, but the story isn't quite done. Now we explore the aftermath and the chilling, creepy silence that comes after such a violent event.
You know, I find this part of the story almost as scary as the climax. The sun comes up, people go about their day, the hospital gets back to its routine, and the absolute terror of the night before is just gone. It's hidden behind a locked door, like it never even happened.
And this is the final chilling touch. You get this totally mundane, bureaucratic explanation for their disappearance. The horror was so extreme that the real world can't even begin to understand it. It's just easier to say, oh, they probably quit. It just goes to show you how easily real darkness can hide right there in plain sight.
And that's where the story leaves us. It doesn't end with an answer. It ends with a warning. The thing in room 27 wasn't beaten. It's just quiet. It's waiting. And that final question, it kind of turns the camera back on us, suggesting that this whole cycle of curiosity and death is just doomed to repeat itself. What a truly unsettling way to end a story.